All right, good discussion on LSU quarterbacks, both present and future. Inside the Huddle Facebook Live, if you're watching, got a text from somebody I respect really within football saying look, if Walker commits, then maybe one of those 2023 quarterbacks commits when talking about Arch Manning or Eli Holstein. But really, the Eli Holstein and Walker Howard thing has really played out. Holstein was at St. Thomas More. He was down at Lafayette. Kind of saw the writing on the wall with Walker Howard being the guy there. He transfers over to Zachary. He's going to be a three-year starter at Zachary. Howard's going to be, the next 2 years at St. Thomas More. You got the guy in Arch Manning down at Newman. And there's a lot of speculation on whether or not LSU can really be a player with Arch Newman and his recruitment because of the family's lineage outside of LSU in the SEC, right? I mean, Archie Manning is the most popular Ole Miss alum in the school's history, not only the most popular football player. Then you talk about his brother in Tennessee and Peyton Manning, or Arch's uncle in Peyton. Archie's son, Peyton Manning, went to Tennessee. Then Eli went to Ole Miss. There's one constant in both of the brothers. They both played for David Cutcliffe. Cutcliffe was the offensive coordinator at Tennessee when Peyton was there. He was the head coach at Ole Miss when Eli was there. He's now at Duke. So there's some speculation that Cutcliffe may have an inside track on Arch. The only things that I do know about Arch is that the relationship between Archie and Orgeron is very tight.
Okay.
And that's from the days when Orgeron was at Ole Miss. And Archie obviously had a lot of influence on Orgeron both getting the job and him losing his job.
Yeah.
And since then,
Fair.
Orgeron and Archie have had really good conversations. They've spent a lot of time together. I say a lot, but enough time to really figure out that they really trust each other and they both respect one another. So that relationship is very tight as far as, the patriarch of the Manning family and the patriarch of LSU football being very tight. But, look, I think that Arch Manning absolutely is in play for LSU. I don't think that LSU is his leader, but I don't think that LSU is out of the race because of who they are.
That would be a strong, just in terms of appearance and PR, what a win for Orgeron and this current LSU regime that would bring, if you were to bring back what is one of the first families of football in the entire world, but one that is based out of Louisiana, yet doesn't have any of those LSU ties. For him to bring the Manning name into the purple and gold fold would be a bit of a coup.
Yeah.
Especially because it was always viewed like they would never go here because of Ole Miss and Tennessee and everything else. And it's not like they're not involved in Louisiana, because they are. They're incredibly involved, right? The Manning Passing Academy that goes on in Thibodeau every year is incredible for Thibodeau and for everybody that lives down there. I mean, it's wild. One of the most fun going out experiences I have ever had was going out during the Manning Passing Academy, and I'm in the bar and John Gruden's in the corner of Rox's by the pole. Yeah. And then there's
it's the football world descends on Thibodeau.
Yes.
I mean, it's the world of football. And I will
it's
tell
funny
you this,
too, a lot of really good-looking women also showed up at the same time.
You think?
Which I was shocked.
Kind of like Orlando in a couple of weeks.
I'm talking to my brother and his teammates. They live at Nichols. They're like, hey, I mean, look, there's good-looking girls here for sure, but what's going on here? Where are
these
also
all Louisiana females, man. I mean, that goes. They're beautiful people.
Yes, that is fair.
So I will also tell you this, and whatever this means to you, I don't know, but I talked to Randy Livingston, who's the head coach at Newman, a lot, where Arch Manning plays. He's the sixth man on Livingston's basketball team. And he's around Arch and the family a lot, and he's constantly in LSU gear. He's constantly in purple and gold when showing up to shoot around, to practices. I don't know what that means.
Just don't go to Alabama.
You know what I mean? I don't know what that means, but it does mean to me that he's got some type of affinity for the state school. And an anonymous user writes in and says, and I imagine that he's talking to us, that anonymous user says, you guys are too young to remember the hate between LSU and Ole Miss. There's no way he comes to LSU. And I understand that there is a generation of the fan base that seems to think like that. But I would tell you,
hated Ole Miss.
Yeah. I mean, my grandfather hates Ole Miss.
That was his words.
But I would say
go
to
to hell,
the
Ole Miss.
new generation
Piss on Ole
fans.
Miss.
No, go to hell, Ole Miss. Go to hell, Ole Miss.
Oh, I thought it was piss on Ole Miss. Oh.
But
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would say for the new generation of fan, I don't think that's there. I mean, LSU has really owned that rival, that rivalry. And
if LSU has a rival in this era, it's Alabama in terms of what the fans care most about.
Absolutely.
Even Florida. I mean, Florida even more than Ole Miss, in my opinion.
And even really before Alabama was the rival, it was Auburn.
Yep.
I mean,
because that was just like you were going tit for tat. Whoever won that game was winning the West. So really, LSU doesn't have as much as a traditional rival as they do whoever else they are directly competing with for Western titles at that time.
Look, an anonymous user says, how could Manning go back to Ole Miss if his grandson goes to LSU? The same way he went back to Ole Miss when his son Peyton went to Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think that there was more interest for Peyton or Arch? Because Archie's first son, Ole Miss would have given they'd have given the program the death penalty to get Peyton Manning when he was coming out of Newman High School, when he was the number one recruit in the country. And the kid, he stiffs Ole Miss and goes and plays for an SEC school in Tennessee. So I don't think it will never be that bad. I mean, if Arch decides to go to LSU, it'll never be as bad as the fallout for Archie when his son decided to go to Tennessee rather than go to Ole Miss. So I think that look,
LSU's they got a good chance. It's going to be interesting to watch it play out. The Lane Kiffin factor is a bit it's a bit concerning.
Hell yeah,
sure.
because that is what Lane is going to recruit to.
Absolutely.
I mean, he is going to play that card up to the Mannings, and in the same sense, that position at Ole Miss, the head coach position at Ole Miss, you got to be tight with Archie.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that's one of the prerequisites of the job.
One of the power brokers you've
got to pass through that part of the process, that screening process, to get there. It was his second son. I'm sorry, but the first quarterback. Cooper was a wide receiver that went to play at Ole Miss, but the first quarterback was Peyton, and he decided to go to Tennessee. So I don't think that there will be as much pressure on Arch as there was Peyton.
Well, not as much pressure to go to Ole Miss, but in terms of just pressure.
Yeah.
Is this segment not indicative of what that kid's going to be dealing with, playing
He's
that position with that name? Oh, no, I know.
We went and watched Dunham play Newman in basketball this year in the second round of the playoffs at Dunham. It was the last public event held in Baton Rouge. It was like one of the last nights before COVID. And everybody in the gym was talking about him. I mean, there was 3 high-end basketball players on that floor. Newman not only has the number one quarterback underclassmen in the country. If you remember, the next morning we came in here and we were talking about the freshman power forward that plays for Newman as well. I forget his name, and I hope if anybody's listening in New Orleans can hop in here with the with his name. But I mean, you're talking about Newman had a high-end player. Dunham had 2 high-end players. We were at the game with the LSU basketball coaching staff.
Yeah.
I mean, they were there recruiting,
about the
watching.
Football player.
And all they're talking about is Arch. Yeah. Everybody around us is talking about Arch.
It goes back to what Coach Burton said, though, right? Pressure breaks some people. Pressure also makes diamonds of some people, and it's going to be crazy. Good luck to Arch for sure.
Anonymous user, Peyton was not the number one quarterback that year. It was Josh Booty. It was Josh Booty and Peyton Manning. They were the top 2 quarterbacks in the country. It was 1 and 1A when you talk about that recruiting class.